what is a redox reaction? Redox is actually a combination of two terms, reduction and oxidation. So we get the term redox, reduction and oxidation. So this is two things happening at once. Redox reactions are paired because they are a transfer of an electron. One compound gives the electron to the other compound. That's both a reduction reaction and an oxidation reaction. So when we're studying redox, we're going to remember one silly but important sentence. Leo, the lion, says grr. Okay, and so what we're really paying attention to here is Leo and grr. Leo tells us that we lose electrons. That's oxidation. As a side note here, you can remember that oxygen is a big bully. So oxygen is always stealing electrons. So if you lose electrons, that's called oxidation. When you lose electrons, often the chemical that stole your electrons is oxygen. When you gain electrons, that's reduction. So if you gain electrons, you're getting reduced. Weird, right? Okay. Gaining electrons means that you're reduced in charge, because remember, electrons are negative. Electrons are negative. So the more electrons you have, the lower your charge is going to be. If you were a 1+ charge and you gain an electron, your charge got reduced. If you are a neutral charge and you gain an electron, you're a 1- charge, your charge got reduced. So as you gain electrons, that is reduction. So Leo the lion says grr is going to help you to remember if something is getting oxidized or reduced. I promise to ask you that question on the test. So you are going to need to know, is NADP becoming oxidized or reduced when it becomes NADPH? And it's becoming reduced because it gains electrons. That's how you're going to be able to answer those questions as we move forward. So what is typically happening is that one compound is going to lose electrons. So we're just going to follow compound A for a moment. Compound A loses electrons. And when you lose electrons, you are oxidized. So compound A was just oxidized. Compound B is gaining electrons. So compound B, if you gain electrons, it was reduced. Okay, we're going to draw this one time, and I want you to draw it with me because drawing helps organize it in your mind. So this is not a take a picture moment. This is a draw moment. So we're starting out by remembering that Leo says grr. Okay, we're going to remember that when we lose electrons, we are oxidized. When we gain electrons, we are reduced. So we're going to start with the compound. Compound A has electrons. Okay, compound B does not yet have electrons. So what's going to happen is compound A and B are going to meet. In our story, this happens at electron transport chains, or it happens at some protein molecule that allows for these things to meet up. And A is going to give its electrons to B. So at the end, A will be without electrons. So it lost electrons. So A was oxidized because Leo, it lost electrons, so it was oxidized. While B gained the electrons. And so we know what that means, right? If you gain electrons, grr. If you gain electrons, you were reduced. So we have a redox reaction. We had a reduction and oxidation reaction where B was reduced because it gained electrons and A was oxidized because it lost electrons. So we have a transfer of electrons. And recall that we said that transferring or moving electrons was kind of the point of photosynthesis. We're going to move electrons from one chemical to another until we finally turn a chemical into sugar. So we're starting with sunlight and we're starting with electrons from water. And we're going to end with sugar molecules. We're going to steal electrons from water first. That's the very first step of photosynthesis, is to steal electrons from water. And we're going to spend the rest of photosynthesis adding electrons onto carbon dioxide until it becomes sugar. So we said that water is oxidized to form oxygen. And I just said that we were going to steal electrons from water. So if water loses electrons, water gets oxidized during photosynthesis. And we said that we're going to take carbon dioxide and we're going to add electrons to it until it becomes like sugar. So if I'm going to take carbon dioxide and I'm going to give it electrons, gain electrons, then carbon dioxide gets reduced to form glucose. So we're really just talking about these redox reactions, and we're going to be looking at redox reactions over and over for the next 2 chapters. Now that we have a handle on redox reactions, it's going to be time to move on to understand how does light work.